Highly sensitive people are 20% of the population. That's more than the number of people that live in China. Almost 1.6 billion and growing people in the world have a brain that's more highly reactive. And I'm one of them. It's a trait, sensitivity. We call it sensory processing sensitivity. That's the trait that a person is born with if they are a highly sensitive person. It's not a disorder, it's not a mental illness, it's not neuroticism, and it's not even introversion. It's just that certain parts of the brain work a little more reactively than other parts. So we're born with it, and it's something that can't be changed. Basically, there are two strategies in the world, and this is what you can find in all these different species. The first one is do it right and do it once. So these are the highly sensitive people. They think before they act. We need both kinds of people, and we think that that is why we've evolved to have about 20% of almost every species probably have this trait, this more reactive brain. 70% of highly sensitive people are introverted, and 30% are extroverted. But I like to use these words as verbs. So, I am introverted, but today I'll be extroverting here on stage. But I had to do a lot of self-care to be able to do that, and that's what both introverts and extroverts need. Now, here's an old study, 1968, Thomas and Birch found that 65% of children fit into these three distinct types. The 40% are easies. You've heard of easy babies. Oh, an easy toddler, an easy child. Oh, yes, she's so easy. Those are not the highly sensitive people. So 15% are the slow to warm up, and 10% are difficult. And we can call these highly sensitive children and adults orchids. The research on animals, these are just three distinct studies that give us a really good idea. And so the fruit flies, sitters versus rovers. So in the presence of food, some fruit flies will sit, and some are zipping all over the place. So it turns out, this is kind of crazy and hard to believe, but I promise it's true. The sitters have more neural complexity than the rovers. They're thinking before they go zipping to the food. The pumpkin seed sunfish, they're in a pond studied by biologists at Cornell, and they identified two different categories of these fish, bold and timid. And it turns out that the bold ones were the ones who were less responsive to novel things. So if there's a trap in the pond that wasn't there before, 80 to 85% of the pumpkin seed sunfish just swam right into the trap and got trapped. And 15 to 20% said, there's something new. Let me hesitate and stay back from the trap. So sometimes we might say, I might say, careful or impulsive. Primates, there's of course lots and lots of studies on primates because their brains are more similar to ours, and the behavioral psychologists and biologists like to really look at primates in comparison to people. And so with the rhesus monkeys and many different primates, they've identified about 15 to 20% are called uptight versus laid back. And again, more and less responsive to their environment. So how do you figure out if someone's highly sensitive? We use this acronym, DOES, D-O-E-S. So D is depth of processing. We are deep processors, deep thinkers. We think maybe a little too much. Sometimes I say, yeah, I could let go of the D for a while. Yes, the highly sensitive people really probably are the first to notice that there's issues with the climate, or the highly sensitive child is the one who notices every little piece of litter, but mom wishes we could just get to school rather than stopping to pick it up. They're thinking, highly sensitive people are thinking and processing deeply all the time. And because of that, they can become more easily overstimulated, which is the O. Now, everyone has an optimal level of arousal. That's when you're just your best self. You're not overly tired, you're not overstimulated, you're not anxious, your heart rate is what feels best to you. And optimal level of arousal is different for everyone, right? Under arousal, we know from the research, is not good. It can be boredom or isolation. It can really shut you down. But I should say, over arousal is the struggle for most highly sensitive people. And really, it's the only negative aspect of being highly sensitive is that feeling of being overstimulated. It makes you feel like you just can't function. And we tend to go there easily. And it means that we need more time. All that deep processing, we need to spend time taking care of ourselves in order to not be overstimulated all the time. E is emotionally reactive, and it also means empathy, because if you're having a lot of emotions, you're probably having empathy for others, often the underdog, be it the planet or the children or people who are struggling in a way that you're not struggling. Well, all that empathy and strong emotional reactions, because if you think deeply, you're going to have strong emotional reactions about things. All of that can also be overstimulating. It's challenging. S is sensitivity to subtle stimuli. We notice every little thing. The lights are too bright. The temperature changed. The tag in the clothes. Oh, I'll just give you a moment to think about all the little things that you notice. The highly sensitive person is the person who walks into the room and notice that if the blinds were just lowered a little bit, the sun wouldn't be in that person's eyes. Or that if they just cracked the window in the car, everybody would be more comfortable. They're noticing every little thing. At the same time, when the water bottles in the case of Perrier from Trader Joe's are tinkling in the back and banging against each other, the highly sensitive person can't drive another block if they are sensitive to sound. And we have as many different ways to be sensitive as we have highly sensitive people. 80% of stimulation comes in through the eyes. And it can be really overstimulating to always have your eyes open out in the world. So I gave you this picture of my therapy horses with their eyes closed because they really know how to take care of themselves. And I just want to invite everyone who's here on live stream or in the room to take a few seconds to just go ahead and close your eyes. When you close your eyes, it doesn't matter what you do with your brain. You're welcome to think or just notice what you're hearing or feel your body in the chair or take a few breaths. All that matters is that sometimes you close your eyes. Originally, they thought that if you have this more reactive brain, it's an advantage only in certain situations. Like, say, only when you're supporting someone who's having strong emotions. But actually, it's an advantage in all. It's generally an advantage in all situations. With just a little bit of help and intervention, we can make a huge difference in the life of an HSP. That means if you do yoga, you have good nutrition, you take naps, you close your eyes for 30 seconds before you get out of your car, you meditate, you get body work, whatever it is that you do. Those are some things that I do, but anything that you do that's self-care, you keep your blood sugar even. That's a big one for me. Then you're going to experience great benefits. And guess what? Therapy is also a great tool, and I'll get to that in a moment. There are just a few things that we need to do in order to thrive, whether our childhood was stressful or not. The first is to believe this trait is real. So I hope that the fact that you're here means that I'm convincing you that this is an innate trait that 20% of over 100 species are born with. It's a huge number of people. The research is extensive on the brain and the different areas of the brain that are more activated by having the trait, being born with it. It's really important that we have these people. And once you believe it's real, then you're more likely to take care of yourself. And that's number 2, to design a life that's compatible with being highly sensitive. I've always thought of myself, before Alane Aaron told me I was highly sensitive, I always thought of myself as having something wrong with myself, that I couldn't just be out in the world doing everything I want to do. And in fact, I look back and I'm like, oh, I'm highly sensitive. My brain was more reactive to all of that stuff. And actually, I had a great instinct. It wasn't a place I wanted to be. I wanted to be out on the ranch building a fort in the creek, where my only rule was be home by dark. So that instinct was such a good thing. So I can reframe my childhood and my past in light of the fact I was highly sensitive. I can see some of those conflicts that I had as perfectly normal for somebody with a more reactive brain. The fourth 5 to thrive is to heal from past trauma. And with children, we want to prevent it. So when something really traumatic happens, we want to talk about it and process it right then. And probably most people know that the best way to heal trauma is with a skilled therapist. So I don't want to send you out there on your own thinking I'm going to heal all those traumatic experiences on my own. That can be re-traumatizing, but a skilled therapist can be very helpful. The fifth of the 5 to thrive is to know other highly sensitive people if you're highly sensitive. And this makes sense because it's part of resiliency research. We know that people who are in some way different than their majority community that they're living in need to know others like them. So it's a very challenging life to feel unique, to feel terminally different, to never really feel like there's anyone like you. And so this is why it's so important for highly sensitive people to know other highly sensitive people so you don't feel like a freak all the time. The research on extroverts, not even highly sensitive extroverts, just extroverts in general, is that they are more overstimulated and overwhelmed than the introverts because introverts are more likely to pursue time alone. So when you have these sort of closets, when you have breakout places that are quiet zones, low light, places to chill, whatever you might creatively call them in your workplace, then everyone can make use of them. And here's something that you can look at any environment. The highly sensitive person, what they are bothered by or experiencing and what they need for intervention is usually what everyone would benefit from. So the highly sensitive person is your canary. And if there's someone on your team who's saying the lights are too bright, the pressure's too much, there's nowhere to get away and take care of myself, then that person is probably giving voice to things that are living in the entire team. I like to tell HSPs that we need to come out about our sensitivity. We need to tell our supervisors, our employers, and even our teams about high sensitivity. And how do you say that? You say, you may have noticed that some people have stronger feelings or more reactions to certain things. And I'm one of those people. The plus side is that I'm really thinking about what's going on. And my problem solving is deep. And I can guarantee you your team recognizes that when you come up with the solutions or a strategy, that it's very well thought out. And it's even hard to find the loopholes in it because you've thought about it and worked on it so hard. So being prepared for those situations, it's also really a great tool whenever possible to negotiate with the person who's in charge of whatever meeting is happening when you're hashing out whatever the proposal is or the project that you've been working on, to limit the time of it and to put a break in it, or to schedule this meeting over 2 different periods, one in the morning, one in the afternoon, or 2 subsequent days, so that you have time to go back and process the information that's been coming in and get your rebuttals, your responses ready so that you're not overstimulated when you're trying to do it. It's a little bit weird in the meeting, but again, if you can just take a breath and even close your eyes for a couple of moments, it will help you reset.